All right, so I think it's working. I hope it's working. Maybe. Yeah, I got my mixer all sorted out. Had some issues for a while now. Went back, reset it, factory reset it, put it a brand new firmware, and then reconfigured the whole thing. And it works perfectly now, like it did. And now also, yeah, I had to reconfigure. I don't know what happened with everything, but had to go reset up on my audio. But anyway, I know you guys can hear that now, which is very cool. And granted, my microphone is picking up the sound here, so I think I might put on some. Nah, it's fine. You guys might hear it double. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check on that later. But I'm here working in Massive X, which is a phenomenal, phenomenal synth plugin here, not only to play sounds, but to create them. This and Serum 2 are like the top of the top for like sound design for like synths and electronic music, but also for even effecty stuff and atmospheric. I mean, everything. You wouldn't believe it. They're great. But I'm here in Bitwig creating some sounds from these synths. They're not the presets. Obviously, I'm creating the sounds, and really hope we've got some folks watching. But anyway, I'm creating the sounds and then going to be adding them to a synth that I also have created. I'm just creating presets now, if you will. So first things first is I need to throw in a clip here so that I can create a note. So I'm gonna see how. Let's just go up to this here. And this creates me one note, and I'm going to need to drag this out a length across until, of course, I see how far this will play. And I think I want that to last longer than that, so let's just go ahead and stop that. And I need this at least twice that long. This will be a note that we'll be holding out over however long we want, and creating a loop within that amount of time so that we can hold it forever, literally, if we wanted to. I'm going to leave a little bit of end space here too, because when you do this, you have to leave end space to account for like reverbs and things like that. So let's just go ahead and play. So I'm going to go all the way to 5 on this. Because we need obviously a huge reverb trail if we're going to include the one that's on the sound as it sits right now. So if we stop this like at 2.5, it carries out till 5. It's crazy. Hear that reverb tail? I want to keep that. All right, so with that, we have one instance of Massive here. I'm going to duplicate this. And we'll keep the same setup, but on this upper one now, I'm going to double click into it, and we're going to move it up to, we can either go to the other C or probably to the F, I think, somewhere, maybe the G. We're going to put this on G1. I'm going to rename this particular Massive here, and the reason I'm doing this is because you can pull in any synth and change this out and it will keep the same name. So this will be C1 number 1. This one's going to be called G1, and what the purpose of this, and if it works normally, I have to remember it, but if this works the way it's supposed to, all of these notes that are exported will have this labels on them, and when you bring them into stuff like highs or rompler or whatever, it recognizes those notes and auto maps them out. That's the plan. So in this one, like I said, we double click, we are on C1. Now we double click on this one, and it's at G1. So now we're going to do a duplicate of that one, and we're going to put this one at C2. And we're going to call this, strangely enough, C2. Okay? I know, it's hard to follow, right? Oh, the hat. Yeah, well, that's because I'm a wizard, in case anybody was wondering. I get called the wizard all the time. It's funny. Movie sets, that's how I was known for a long time. The wizard. Ask the wizard. It's because I did effects and whatnot, and they called me the wizard. So I kind of got known for that. All right, so we're going to duplicate this one. So that is on C2. So we're just going to duplicate the track again. And this is a setup I do if I need to, but I can save this as a setup, and you can always refer back to it for a new synth or a new sound preset. So this one is not C2. This is actually going to be G2 now. So we'll just click into this here and call it G2, because that's the next note up from where we're at that we're going to sample. We double click on here and make sure that we move this note to G2. Now when they play all together, they sound like this, which is pure crap, or a big wall of dark sound. But this is not how it's going to play. We're going to have these export as single notes, and when we bring them into the sampler, they will line up, and you can play them separately. It's a whole process. So that was G2. Now we're going to go with C3. So I'm going to duplicate this guy, and this becomes second nature after a while. So this will be C3. This is the part that takes the longest. It's ridiculous. It's so easy. So there's my C3. And then we're now going to duplicate it again. Bring it, and this one will be G4 or G3. Sorry, don't get lost. G3. And then we go in there, and we have to actually make the note. That's an F. G3. So I want to make sure these are the right ones. So easily enough, we double click each one. That's a G. That's a C. This is a G2, which is on G2, C2, G1, C1. Yep. So that's how easy that is. So on the G3 now, we need to go with C4. So we're going to duplicate it. We're going to go to call this C4. Boom. That was funny. So we got C4. He did. And this says G3 because the clip says G3. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to move this to C4. And I don't know why that's not changing. Let's just make sure. C3, C4, that is not right. So G2, C3. Hang on. Screwed something up. So C4 is G. Oh boy. C3, this should be G3, not C4. Easy to get lost, right? G3, I was wondering why the name didn't make sense. And then this one should be C4, which we will rename now. Okay, so all is well as far as I can tell. That's my wrap for the day. Alrighty, you guys can hear this, right? I know you can. Okay, so that is C4. We're going to do a C5. So I'm going to duplicate this track now. And I'm not going to do a C5. Yes, I am. That's C4. We're going to go G4 on this one. So we go, wow, G4, enter. And with that G4, we'll go into this note and move this to G4. So, and then we're going to duplicate this track and we're going to go C5 on it. Because it is C5 finally. It is for real. C5, we got to go into the note now. Make sure that's on a C5. You guys are hearing that okay, right? Okay, so on that C5, C5, everybody's good. We're going to duplicate that one and go G5. So rename first. G5. And you can get way too much stuff happening in here if the actual sample or the patch you've made is really intense processor wise, but it's all good. There's our G5. I'm going to go maybe G6 and then we'll stretch the rest out when we get into highs. So let's go ahead, or I'm sorry, into Rompler today. So we're going to go now G5, so we're going to go C6, duplicate this one, call it C6. And that should be good for all of these. So C6, we're just going to come over and make sure that's on that. And make sure that that says C6 everywhere, and we're good to go. Now here's the big trick. To get these all out the way you need, I'm just going to make sure that I set my loop to be the full length of all these sounds. And I'm going to go into my export here. And you can do this in any DAW, it doesn't matter. But we're going to go here and we're going to just select the ones we want to export, and it will do these individually. Make sure that the loop region is set correctly as a wave file here as well. We're not going to use FLAC, it doesn't need to be that big. And I'm going to come here to wave and go OK, and it's going to ask me where it wants them. And I'm going to say, I don't even know what I'm going to call this particular one. So let's just go to new, and you know what? I should probably put this in the Ruin folder. So let's just go here to the actual synth that I'm creating. And we're going to put this in, oh, this is in the highs folder. No, there's Rompler as well. So I'm going to put this in the Ruin samples, and I'm just going to make a new folder and call this heavy, heaviness. Heaviness factor. I don't know why, it just sounds like a cool name. So we'll stick that there. I'm going to go here and we'll have the same thing. Yep, that's the folder we want it in. It's going to output those, including their reverb tails, supposedly, to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to save this template, okay? I'm going to save it as a template, and I'm going to call this, let's put this in the actual Red Spectre VSTs here. Yada, yada, yada. There we go. And we're going to call this, you know, sampling template. So I'm going to say, am I even there? No. So we're going to call this sampling template. Griffin's egg, blah, blah, blah. It's all good. We say okay. It's going to save that as a project template we can open anytime we want and just change which synth we're using. So that's cool. And yes, I will have to go in and change it on every one of the layers, but it's totally fine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and export or exit that. Nobody look at my desktop, please. And then we're going to go into Rompler, which I'm not in a lot these days, but I do want to finish this synth like really bad. So we'll just go ahead and open it up here. And you can see, whoops, I opened two of them. You can see here now that I have, I'm going to open this recent project right here. This is a project that I've been building for Well, I started about 1.5 years ago, but I had all kinds of stuff happen. You guys know that. I had a stroke and a bunch of other crap. So now we have this guy here. I've added some presets here since we have this many at the moment. The thing sounds amazing. It really does. So we can, oops, I think I moved something. We can add layers, all kinds of other stuff. Some of this has some layers. But that was a preset I did yesterday. I mean, we've got... There's layering, multiple layers and stuff in here as well. So like in the mapping editor, you can see I've got 2 layers to this particular sample. We can do velocity layers and everything in here now too, which is really sweet. So back here, we're in the mapping editor. Let's add a new preset with that new sound that we just did. So I'm going to go back up here and find the ruin again. You don't have to look at any of my stuff if you don't want to. I'd rather you didn't. And we're going to go here to the ruin samples. And it should bring up something that says something we want. I don't really care for the fact that I didn't put these in separate folders. But we're going to wait for that for just a second. And in that moment, I'm going to have a look here in Rompler. We're going to create a new preset. So right up here, wherever you want, but you just click Add Preset, and we call it what we want. I mean, what do we have? Heaviness factor, right? That easy. It helps if you spell it right, though. Tor. And we say Add Preset. It's going to wipe everything out. Well, it's just going to go to the next one that doesn't have anything in it. And then, of course, have all your names and all your stuff the way you want this to be. Any kind of pitch bending, blah, blah, blah. You know, yeah, let's go ahead and give it 12 notes full on this one. No glide, but you can set that up later. This is just your starting out stuff. We'll just leave all of this because all of that's been filled in on the actual interface. We have all those controls. So what we need to do, though, is bring in the samples and then tell it, you know, where the looping range is and all of that kind of stuff. So back in here, let's see, we do have our heaviness factor samples. It's going to take a second to bring those up. I don't know why. It's because, I don't know, the computer's been running a little bit slow lately. Probably need to do a big old clean out of something. So here's our heaviness factor samples. We're going to just grab all those. I am hoping it's going to figure out where they go automatically, but it probably won't. So these are all just going to be on C's and G's, though. And hopefully it can sort that as well. So the first one is going to be on C1. I'm hoping, once again, we might have to do these separately, but I'm going to try C1. Key range end is going to be at C6 for now. So we're just going to put C6. And this might only put one sample across this space. We'll see. Boom. So let's see if it worked. We are still playing not this correct one. I think we're still somehow in bitwig. Am I right? They're backwards. So that's hilarious. I never had that happen. These are listed backwards. So C1, it's going to go over here. We're going to but see, this is going to screw them up because now when we play them, they're all going to be too low. So Rompler, work on this, please. The way these come in is just, I mean, in highs, it listens for it and it knows what they are. You know, this makes it very difficult and tedious. So I'm just going to pull all these back out. I mean, I'm sure there's somehow a particular naming convention that you guys typically use for it, but you shouldn't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is bring in my samples one at a time. Lame. And go, this is going to be C1. So I'm just going to grab this one here. Gosh, come on, man. Right here. Drop it in. This one has to be on C1. And then I see I have to go and tell it all this, and it should just drop it. and then I can stretch it out. So C1, C1. We're just going to leave it at that. Leave it at that. We're going to say import, and it's going to put it on C1. I don't know why it's going, because it did not do that originally that I know of or remember. That was C1. Let's try G1 here. So that one's going to go approximately there. It's going to ask me anyway. See, makes no sense. Sorry, I'm whining today, folks. Seriously, whining. I'm just going to pull all this over. We're going to do this. And that's going to be a G1. G1, and then I click here. For some reason that doesn't work, but sometimes it does. It's also inconsistent and weird. So, okay. So we got our G1 in. Now we're going to use our C2, which is going to wind up here. Not that it matters, because I have to type it in anyway. And then I click on this one, and look, nothing. So when you get past C3, though, it just does it automatically. I don't understand. Okay, so it's taking in the sounds one at a time, however slow, it's fine. This one's going to be G2, G2, and then G2, import. And I always check them, though. And then this one's going to be C3, which is going to go on there, which is totally fine. You just import it. It's that one, you know, it doesn't automatically know. It's just that I made a C3, and there happened to be C3 where you bring it in. This will be G3. Hope I'm not going to get myself confused. G3, G3, and then watch this. Click, it says G3. Why doesn't it do it on any of the rest of them? I don't know. All right, so let's get some of the rest. Let me just move my monitor so I can actually reach my keyboard. So back through here, there's our G3, C3. We're going to C4. Boom. Same joke. Still just as lame. C4. C4 and watch. Click C4. Yeah, that makes no sense. But I'm fine with it. Okay, we're getting a little up to the end now where we want to be. And that's C4. Now we're going to go with G4. Very important to name your stuff and name it correctly. So there's G4. Now C5. Whoops. Don't want to open it. We just want to drag it. So C5. And then, see, also this having to switch back windows, not my bang. So it's C5, G5 now. I know it's painful to watch me do this. And then one last one, C6. So we'll just drag it. C6. C6 and C6. So there is something that Highs has, I wish that Rompler did, where you can select all of these, click and drag them, and it will fill in the gaps when you press a button in between them. In Rompler, you have to actually drag it out like so. And they tell you to, well, drag them, you know, underneath like that. Yeah, but then they get screwed up as to which number they are. So this works perfectly fine. It's going to pull these up. There should be a fill in the gaps function, though. This would make, it would take, minutes off of your thing, but minutes off of each sound, not just only each key here, but off of each preset you're making is huge, because if you have 300 presets, you just saved yourself, like a week's worth of work by having that little button in there. So So this is like a sync sound is what they call that style of sound. So we need a looping happening here. So they don't have a visual representation of this either, which in my opinion kind of sucks, but it's what we have to do. So I'm going to press just this F key here, and if you listen, at some point it quits playing, right? So we need to go to this loop mode and click loop forward, and then we need to say where the loop starts. So let's just move this up a little bit, and it'll sound the same, but then it'll end, and I'm still holding it, it'll start again. But we want that start again to happen sooner. So I'm going to go and just listen for the end. So I'm going to move both these back for a little bit. And your looping area is what's between these. And you hear that pop. There's now a pop sound. We just put the loop fade up about to about 15, 20. And now your loop works. So we need to do this to every sample though, which is also not my favorite thing to do in the world, but it's all right. Let's try this one. Okay, moving on. So you can set that loop anywhere, but it's got to be in a good place. That's fine. So you just want to go through and do this to everyone. Sometimes they're harder than others. It's fine. Yeah, it's a little bit tiresome to do every single one this way, but like I said, it's just what must be done. And it doesn't even matter. And it gets easier as you go. So I'm just kind of setting where the loop point's going to be. Listening for the click. Sometimes they're better than others. It's just a matter of setting the sample to start later and then finding where the end is. Perfect. That's fine. And just setting it, every single one. You know, not too close to the front, not too close to the end. Getting a fade that makes, you know, it sound better. And sometimes you get it perfect right off the bat. Loop forward, pull it up a little bit, back a bit, make your like I said, sometimes you get it perfect, just like I just did twice in a row. Just by you get used to it though, where to put the settings. You know, somewhere around 15-ish or something. So that's a little late. It's fine. And then the last one, of course. And if you want, I mean, if I want, I can go back in here and make these a little better. Like I said, sometimes you get them perfect first right off the bat. Okay, cool. So now that one is essentially done. So is it? But and of course you can change your layer names and stuff like that. We can put in other sounds on top, like if I wanted to take this one and throw in another layer and add a different sound on there, or if we wanted to add an extra velocity layers where the harder you hit the key, you know, the more sound comes through. Totally up to you. But it's cool now because now we have, like I said, all of these plus this guy. We have this old one I did yesterday. So this new one, you can set all the effects and all that from the actual interface when you use the plugin, but we can't test that right now. But I can go in and set like the initial settings for those things. Because right now there's nothing. So if I wanted to up the attack, you know what I mean? Set all that in here. Let's set a little release to it. So it's got a little hang out, you know, hang off there. We can throw in a little bit of chorus maybe. Little phaser there. Get the idea. So there is one of the samples. You guys actually got to see me implement that. Hope you thought that was cool. I can keep working if you want me to. making more sounds, but I think that works for today. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked that. Let me know what you think, and come back soon. All right, talk to you later. Goodbye.